Today I'm going to start a series on stress. So, a couple of pointers before I start. If you need help, please reach out. I know people can say, oh, it's just stressed. I'm just stressed. Well, please don't just dismiss it like that. There are implications for your mental and physical health, which I'm going to talk about today in this first part of the series. So please do reach out if you need help. If you have any medical issues, please reach out to your GP. That's the two things I would say to you. You do need support and help with this one. Um, because, as I said in the blog, once stress gets a grip of us, a number of things can happen. Our mental and physical health are affected hugely. We don't think they are, but they actually are. Self confidence is dropping. We start to doubt ourselves and our abilities to cope. Our mind, that cognitive distortions we talk about, the negative thinking, the washing machine effect really starts to go, and it's race, 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 race. And then we start to withdraw from people, and we're withdrawn from people, places, and things that would normally have given us pleasure. And really, what we need is a plan of action, because if we don't start putting a plan of action in, we are at higher risk of depression, anxiety, and other conditions. So, stress can have a very big knock on effect. It can creep up slowly, but once it gets in there, it can have a cascading effect, and you can find yourself in deep trouble, both towards your physical and mental health. Um, so the series, just to let you know, the series is based on what we call the three A's. So that's awareness. So we need to build our awareness, because if we don't build our awareness, we can't change what's going on in our lives. It also includes the second A, which is acceptance. People like to skip that stage. And that can be a really big mistake, because what happens there is when we skip acceptance, and have some compassion for ourselves, some forgiveness, and just okay, this is where I'm at right now. That's all you have to do is, okay, this, acknowledge, stop, take a breath, acknowledge, this is where I'm at right now. Even just by doing that, it gives us a better chance to move into the third A, which is our action step. It gives us a chance to be more proactive rather than reactive, because if we skip the middle A, we get to be reactive, and when we're reactive, it's not always in our own best interest the steps that we take. So just by stopping, taking a breath, you know, observing what's really going on with you, and then you can move on to that third A, action, and being more proactive. So let's get into it, because step one is all about getting to know your stress. There's a list of things they're in the blog, but I'm going to list them out. But we do have to raise our own awareness. You need to get to know, how does stress affect me? Because it affects different people in different ways. So the first two steps, in fact, are all about building that first A, awareness. And that's what today's blog is all about. Um, you know, Stress in and of itself is our body's way of, just responding to a demand or a threat. It's a defense mechanism. Now, I've talked about the flight, fright, or freeze response, and how, that response are stress hormones, our anxiety hormones. I've talked about the vagus nerve before. Um, have a look at that. There's a link out to that. If you want more detail, go and have a look at that. But, when that response is working properly, it's great. And that's when a little bit of those stress hormones kick in. And, we're on the ball, we're alert, we can react to emergencies, we deal with the emergencies, and that's the way it's supposed to be. But when we're constantly bombarded, and it can be micro stressors, and I've talked about micro stressors with the ladies in the group, my mum's group. These are like tiny little micro moments of stress, that just add up and add up and add up and add up. Something as simple as using your phone and social media on your phone, you could have within, you're scrolling down through your feed and you're thinking this is grand, but you're actually having tiny little micro moments of stress every time you see something negative, just by going through a news feed on social media. So it can be small like that, stubbing your toe, but they all build up. And that's the problem. They build up and build up and build up. And if we don't have stress relieving tactics to let them out, then, we wonder why we're then screaming at the kids at 5 o'clock. Um, so, we really need to become aware that when stress is getting added to and added to and added to throughout our day, it really can have an adverse effect on our physical and mental health. So that's why I bring up the first day, which is all about, awareness. And aware that our stress can come from external sources, and they're the ones we tend to focus on. But it can also come from internal stressors, and they're the ones we forget about. So as I said, external stresses could be micro moments of stress. Like I said, little things that are happening constantly throughout the day. They're all compounding on top of one another. But they can also be the big ones. It could be a death in the family, or a close friend, even somebody you can get a shock. Oh my God, they're somebody your own age maybe. But there's other forms of grief, and I've talked about those before. Relationship problems, not just with your intimate partner, but with family, friends, your kids, work colleagues. All of that can have is a massive stressor for us. Work related problems. There's a huge amount of work related problems there that we can have. There could be problems within the company, fear of closure, fear of losing your job. You could have a bully, toxic workplace environment in which you have to work. All of those can be work related problems. Then you can have the likes of trying to even just balance it out. So having the life work balance, getting that right, can be a massive stressor in and of itself. Any financial problems we might be coming up against, even if they're not your own, but you could be worrying about, say, if your parents, making sure they're all right. Again, it could go back to your workplace. Maybe there's financial problems within the workplace. Other things could be natural life adjustments that we make. Kids leaving home, our own retirement, can be causes of big stress for us. But then, there are other ones, and like internal stress, as I said, we tend to focus on those bigger ones and the ones that are out there. We forget the micro moments. We forget the day-to-day stresses that we're under that can all build up. But we also forget that our own internal stressors can make those bigger ones worse, or make the micro stresses, that small little daily stresses, worse for us. So internal stresses might come from our own thoughts. As I said, the washing machine starts to go in the head, it's on full spin cycle. Our own perceptions, our emotions get added into the mix. You can't remove your emotions and your perceptions of the world immediately. You can't change your thoughts overnight. But you can do something about it. Excessive worry, pessimism, any sort of, negative internal fears will also increase our stress. As I said, our own perceptions of what's going on. And sometimes our brain will lie to us about what is actually going on around us. And that contributes to our stress levels as well. And that's, we tend to withdraw there too, and making ourselves more isolated. Thing we have to remember, and I'm going to stress this, is everyone experiences stress in a different way. It's never the same. So one event for the same two people can either be very stressful, maybe a little bit stressful, or not at all stressful. So you have to remember that and just accept that. If somebody else may seem like they're not affected by the same event, but you're very stressed, then you concentrate on you. And it's okay that you have felt this stressed and you need to reach out for support. You have to remember that it's okay to reach out for support. So how does it, affect our mental and physical health? Loads of ways, loads and loads of ways of how it can do that. Symptoms that you might want to be aware of, and they're all listed in the blog. If you want to take your time and go through them, um, you know, just take your time, run through them, tick off the ones you need, and I'll come to that in a second. But symptoms to be aware of can be the likes of being impatient, being careless, irritable, angry outbursts, absenteeism. You're maybe take a sickie, more sickies than usual. Low energy. You're not sleeping properly, so sleep problems. Avoiding, as I said, that's another one. Maybe increased alcohol consumption, the extra glass of wine every night. Some people do and can revert to, using drugs, even prescription drugs, misusing those. Changes in weight, that's another one we want to be watchful of, particularly, 5% either way. Either losing more than 5% rapidly within a month, or increasing it. Sudden crying for nothing, tearfulness, feeling isolated or withdrawing yourself, feeling guilty or shame, and that can be quite irrational. Why am I feeling guilty about this? But I do. Why am I feeling ashamed about this? But I do. And this again is how the stress is getting into your thinking and how you feel. So then low self-esteem obviously is one there, and as I said, it affects your self-confidence as well there. Your decision making, goes out the window. We're not too good on it. We can get muddled thinking. We can get forgetful. We're making rush decisions. We're trying to react instead of being proactive, slowing it down and being proactive. Coordination can go. Blackouts even. People can have blackouts. Headaches, migraines, classic one I suppose people associate with too much stress is migraines. As I said, a lot of negative thinking. Our own negative thinking starts to come up. So we're focusing more on the negative. A lot of negative. We can't see any light, any chink there of light at all. We're just focusing solely on the negative thinking. It's like a blinkered effect really is what we're getting there. Fear of rejection, fear of failure comes up. We can become very defensive or oversensitive. Another one people will associate is inability to switch off. But if we let these, as I said, if we let the stress get hold and if we don't start to take steps to change it, then we are at increased risk of depression, anxiety, and other mental health symptoms or conditions as well. So the first thing I would say to you there really, and I said it at the start, was please reach out to your GP, because there could be other medical conditions in there that because you're putting it all down to stress, you're missing. So please go get a checkup. Do please get a checkup. And perhaps if you need and you feel, no, I just can't cope with this level of stress that I'm under, that you do reach out to somebody like me. You have to remember, stress isn't something that, we're suddenly in there, we're dealing with it, it's hard hitting. It's not like that. Stress, as I said, can be those micro moments that are just building constantly throughout our day. And very rapidly we can have, even before breakfast, you can have 15 or 20 micro moments of stress in your life. But stress in and of itself, when we get to the chronic end of things and we're noticing the symptoms, that tends to be towards the end of it, and it's really getting hold of us, because stress creeps up really, really slowly, and it makes it much easier to miss. We adjust accordingly with stress. We adjust our life accordingly to handle it. And it builds so easily that way and can get a grip so easily that way. But all is not lost. You can take control of this. You can build your awareness, look at how it's affecting me, and saying, okay, this is affecting me. I need to do something about it. So going and, as I said, getting the GP to rule out any other medical conditions that might have been caused by the stress. And if you do have other conditions, the likes of arthritis, diabetes, any sort of physical conditions that you already have, stress can actually make those conditions worse. I recently had a conversation with somebody where, they'd noticed when they were stressed, their diabetes readings went up. So, it makes the pain worse, particularly with arthritis, with any condition that's painful like arthritis. So you have to remember that. So going and reaching out to your GP is a very good thing to do here. But you can also, start to take back control. And today, as I said, is all about raising awareness. So step 2 is actually when I say to you, now it's over to you. Just for a few, just for this step for a moment. Because, we need to be aware of it. When we're aware of it, we can change it. So what I would suggest you do is get out your journal, you know, get to know how stress is affecting your life. And just remember, it's all about progress here, taking a snapshot in time as you answer the questions for step 2. Because step 2 is all about answering some questions and getting to know your particular stress. As I said, it can affect different people in different ways. So we're looking at trying to take a snapshot in time, work out, are there patterns to our stress? What areas of our life is affected? I've given you about 19 questions, and they really are only the tip of the iceberg of delving into what you could do here with this and examine it. But I highlight in particular questions 4, 6, and 10. For the simple reason, 4 is all about, what external and internal factors are contributing to my stress. And I've just talked about that at the beginning of the video. And what stress symptoms have you noticed is number 6. That's important. You need to know. They're the basics you need to know. Along with number 10 is what made you want to tackle your stress now. That's your why. Because this is really what this is going to be about, is the change part of it is about a lifestyle change. Now you can make, and I'm going to talk about small wins next week, how you can start to claw back control next week in small ways to give you those small wins. And then I'll talk about longer term stress reducing lifestyle strategies the following week. But you need a why. You need that question 10. What made you want to tackle the stress now? Knowing the why is really vital. Because that's going to get you moving. It's going to get you changing things up. It's going to make you want to keep going when the motivation and the willpower maybe isn't going so well. You can read back over that why. But as I said, we're here to look for the patterns. What's going on? What areas of my life are affected? Is it centered around one person? So have a look at those 19 questions. They're over in the blog. And if you have any questions about them, please come back and ask me. I'm happy to answer any questions you have. The thing about this is, take your time. Take your time and get to know your stress here. As I said, I'm going to give you some quick wins next week, some quick small steps that you can actually take, that you can start to claw back that control. But just for now, just be honest with yourself. Sit down, have a look at the symptoms, have a look at what the internal and the external stressors can be. Write down the questions. You need to know what's causing your current level of stress, what symptoms you have, and as I said, why you want to change them. At the very least, you need to know what they are. The other thing I would say to you is take that time as well. Take that breath. STOP is an acronym that we use when we're working with people, which means stop whatever you're doing, take a breath, just T for take a breath, O is to observe what's really going on here for me right now. And then P is to then proceed proactively. So really, take some time for the acceptance. It's important that you take that breath and observe what's really going on for you. And just say, okay, this is where I'm at right now in my life, and that's okay. I can now, if I can take that moment to be compassionate with myself, as I would if I was listening to a friend or a family member or one of my kids, I would be compassionate with them. I would listen. So start to listen to yourself. What is your head telling you? What's your body telling you? Give yourself that breathing space between awareness and action. And in that way, you're going to be more proactive in the long run in making the changes you need towards stress. So I leave it there. I hope you get something out of the blog. I hope I can help in any small way possible. Let me know. I'm very open to answering people's questions if I can. I will talk to you all next week. If you can't wait until next week's video, the blog is out on Monday as usual at about 9 o'clock. So you can look at it and start to take back some control there. And I will talk to you all next week. Thank you to those, as always, who watch live and who watch in replay and here on Facebook and on YouTube. Thank you so much for watching, and I will talk to you all next week.